Hi everyone. I have used this pen tablet to give classroom instruction instead of writing things on the whiteboard. So in this video, I'd like to share that experience. It turns out, especially for this semester, it's quite relevant. So let me talk about this big picture first. The way I used it, I used this something called pen tablet. I have used Wacom tablet recently. I switched to something called XP pen tablet, but it is the same kind of pen tablet. Using the USB cable, it's hooked up to my laptop, so I use my personal laptop for this one. And then there's this HDMI cable in the podium, which is ultimately connected to the ceiling projector. So I connect my laptop to that HDMI cable, or in the even earlier days, and I had to use this VGA cable, but these days there are more HDMI cable. Of course, HDMI cable gives far better resolution to the projected image. So you hooked up to that, and then whatever you write with your pen tablet and whatever it shows in this laptop is projected into the classroom screen. I haven't done this setup I'm about to explain, but I think it's doable. You can have your pen tablet and not using your personal laptop, and you can use your USB cable from that pen tablet to the main body of the computer, and then you can hook up some sort of microphone these days. There are various different sort of a slim-looking microphone that is hooked up to personal smartphones. So whatever that kind, you can hook up to the Podium desktop computer, and you have to ask IT department to install whatever the software is necessary to handle this pen tablet and writing software. And the connection from the Podium computer to the ceiling projector is already installed there, so you don't have to do anything about it. But this is another setup without using personal laptop. In this case, the webcam is missing, so you're not going to have instructor's face in this recording procedure or in the projection, but that is not something that it's really necessary. But student told me that over the years that it's absolutely better to have instructor's face showing whenever they're um, doing this remotely or online. So I'd like to actually show the exact setting I am using in here. I am using pen tablet, USB cable hooked up to the laptop, and I have a headset microphone connected to my laptop, like this one, the one I'm using exactly. But I have a wireless connection from my laptop to the projector. Like I said, there is a HDMI cable in the podium that is ultimately connected to projector, but I connect these HDMI cables to something called a wireless receiver. My laptop is a Windows system, Windows 10. Intel chip of my personal laptop computer has something called a mirrorcast built in, so that I can send the signal of this whole projection wirelessly to this receiver. Receiver is physically connected to the projector using this HDMI cable, so I can save a little bit of the cable connection. Awkwardly, this is on the left side and the podium is on the right. This connection with this HDMI cable has to be longer. So if you're using this laptop HDMI connection, you probably will need extension of the HDMI cable, so you can go around to the laptop, which is usually on the person's left side. But I'm using this wireless connection, and this one is called Action Tech Screen Beam wireless receiver of this broadcast. If your laptop does not have this mirrorcast built in, you have to purchase an additional dongle it's like a USB port. If you stick it in here, and it is going to broadcast to this wireless receiver, and then it can connect it to the projector. but it is not as good as this built-in Miracast system that is running on the Intel chip inside there. But you can still use physical HDMI cable hooked up to that, and that's another easier solution. Once those are set up, students in the classroom will be able to see what is projected and whatever it's in your computer and whatever you write and whatever you know things you do. But those students who are not physically in the classroom, you need to record your sessions and allow them to watch the video later. Or for those students who want to actively participate, then you have to live broadcast that thing. You can do that using the Zoom conference thing. I tried it and it has awesome things in it. So this is the best way to do it. But you can also use OBS Studio and live broadcast to the YouTube, and that's another possibility. And in that way, you have to use this pop-up chat window to interact with the students. So it's a bit limited, but in my opinion, I will see how well it is going to go. But student can certainly type in their questions and stuff like that. So I think that's probably sufficient in this live session. So I'm going to try OBS broadcasting live to the YouTube, but you can also do that with this Zoom conferencing software, and that has very good features as well. Right, on August the 2nd, I have been using this tablet device and projecting things in the classroom, but I have never really live broadcasted and then having a live session synchronously. Never done that. So I wanted to experiment that. So I walked into classroom. One of the room I will be teaching this semester is University Hall 109. So I went in there, actually hooked things up, and broadcast live to YouTube. And of course, it is saved in YouTube, and you can, access that later. So here is a recording I'd like to share in here. Give me a second. Stirred inside, but it's not too bad. So let's see. This is usually what I do. I show some of the slides and copy that using the screenshot device and paste it in there and talk about stuff like that. Hey, here's a position function. And, we thought about notion of this instantaneous velocity. We just say the velocity in there, exact same magnitude with the opposite sign. As you can see, this whole thing is a 0. So we find this interesting, peculiar looking function that has a derivative 0. And an earlier statement was that this function should be constant. All right, that was that. And now in the later part of this slide, I will explain more about what just happened and what kind of software you used, and stuff like that. The pen tablet I use on that recording was from this XP pen tablet company. Wacom is more high-end and a little bit more expensive, and I prefer this XP pen tablet. I've been using Wacom tablet for years, but that was a smaller one, and I'll show you in the next slide. But the model name for the one that I use was the Star 03V2. You can go to xpn.com and look that up. And here's a bigger picture. One of the reasons I like this one, there are two important things. This highlighted here is actual writing area. You can see is a 10 by 6, is nearly the same as the letter size paper. Because of that, its actual writing experience is close to what you write on paper. So I like that better than anything smaller. If it gets smaller, your hands get tired and all that. So bigger version is better. The Wacom tablet of this side is far more expensive. This one I bought in here is going to be just about between $60 and $70, and so it's far cheaper with this XP pen tablet company. The second thing is these hotkeys. When you're busy writing things in there, this hotkeys is so useful. It's just so powerful. Once you get used to it, copy and paste and changing the colors and stuff like that. It's just a screenshot button in here, so you don't have to go back and forth like that. It's just a lifesaver. More um, hotkeys over here is better. So let's see the second one. Here are some other software I use. That was a tablet. The drawing software I recommend is this Microsoft OneNote and whatever the default OneNote is there in the Mac system. I'm sure they have something. But for Windows, Microsoft OneNote is really easy to use. You don't have to learn anything. If you see that, you immediately see that, and I'll give you a short demonstration later on. So that part's easy. I personally use GIMP. I'll explain later just a few things of why I stick to the GIMP, but you can start with the Microsoft OneNote, really easy to use. Most of us have these sources uh, for the class instruction, either in the PowerPoint and a PDF slide, and that's probably what you're going to use. For some reason, I prefer this photo viewer as a Windows system. Has recently has weird photo viewing a default app, so I have to look for something that is easier and simple. And Image Glass, if you want to use a photo viewer, Image Glass is a really, really good one. It's a simple, it's slim looking, not complicated, but I'm sure many of you use PowerPoint or PDF to as instruction material, and that is something you're going to be using in during the classroom instruction. But the third thing is this screenshot software. You see this thing in your presentation source. You capture the certain region, not the entire screen. For that, screenshot is perfect. I'm sure there are other types of a screenshot software, whatever you use, and you paste it into drawing software, and you can write on top of that, and that's what I did in that video. So that's sufficient for classroom instruction, but if you want to record it and live broadcast, you'll be using Zoom conferencing platform, or you can use OBS Studio. The recording that I did in the University of 109 in the video, I used OBS Studio so that I have a little bit more control on how this one is displayed and organized and things like that. But it takes a bit of time to learn what you can do with OBS. Zoom is very, very easy to use. It has recording, and you can post it in the the platform, so anybody can easily access or share in the folio and stuff like that. So that's easy way to start. So let me use this Microsoft OneNote and screen capture and putting it in writing and things like that. The short demonstration of using Microsoft OneNote. Okay, this is how Microsoft OneNote looks like, and I have this pen tablet ready, and it has this title up there. I haven't used OneNote that much, so I don't know how to get rid of it, but it's not a bad thing to have it in there. You click on that, you have all sorts of sections and pages. I really like this feature. It's really easy to handle and to control. Um, your note as a file. So you go to draw. It's really easy. Here's a writing mode, and you can go and choose your all sorts of pen. And I'm going to choose a black color in there, and then go out there. As I said before, you can see this cursor, and you can go to Windows System, make this cursor a little bit bigger. I think it's a better actually. Let me see if I can do that. Right, I'm back, and here's writing mode again. As you can see, got a little bit bigger, especially in classroom section. Student can follow where you're pointing and all that. This is awesome thing to have. When you're recording, I know you can change the cursor shape so you can have a better control and getting attention of the viewers in that when it's recording. But in a live session, this really helps. And it is not the first time I heard a student really appreciate that, and this showing clearly in there. I also have another slide that shows you what happened if you don't have this thing. That is called a crosshair. So I'm writing um, every time I write, and in here, this is always a thing that I write. I don't know. This fundamental theorem of calculus is always things that I write down, and whatever, um, you know, usually write down an antiderivative and things like that. The experience I have with this correct angle and this larger size of pen tablet, you don't need any practice at all. It's really easy to write and really easy to choose and then things like that. So that's the writing part. So I'm pulling up the sources of. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller so that you can see this is a kind of photo viewer. So this is the image class or your PowerPoint or something like that. You can explain this thing as it is here in class, but if you want to do something about it, if you want to write on something about it, you can and screenshot. So you screenshot that part and go back to your thing in there. Let me go and kind of paste it. I think it's pasted over there. So let me go and fix that for some reason. It's over there. Um, so I'm learning. I haven't used this thing much, so it was a little bit awkward. But anyway, so you paste it in there so you can explain, hey, this thing is actually thrown downward, and then because of that, your VT has to be some sort of integral of AT with some adjustment, something like that. All this thing is really conveniently done. So you do that a lot in the classroom instruction. You look uh, at the material you prepared and screenshot and writing on that. It's really great feature. So let's take a look at the next one. Well, there's one more thing I'd like to say about this OneNote thing. If you pull that up and you can share this whole OneNote thing in the internet, but you can also go and print here and print it to PDF file, and then you will save this thing as a PDF file, and you can share that note with the students. So here's the next thing I'd like to talk about. I forgot to replace that with that PDF. Is about using this pen tablet. And if you have this bigger area of a pen tablet, it's already far easy to learn to write with this tablet. But if you keep this position of this tablet in your arm in this manner, it's really easy to write things in line and horizontal. This kind of makes sense. This is like a long axis of this tablet, long side, and this is an extension of the line of your arm. If you try to make this one as 90 degrees as possible, it's really easy to write things in horizontal line when you in the classroom. So that's a one thing. It requires a little bit of practice to keeping this position, but it's kind of easy thing. The second thing is that cursor again. One of the reason I did not use the OneNote when it was available and becoming more popular is this cursor. When I'm writing on OneNote, the cursor wasn't like this. It was more like this. This is something called a crosshair. As you can see, me go ahead and change that to that. This, I don't know if you can see this or not. If I change this Adobe view to that, you can see this crosshair right there. And from my experience and students, they all complain that it's very difficult to see where that is. It was even smaller in the dimmer in that Microsoft One old version of OneNote. So it's very difficult to follow where it is pointing when you are writing on OneNote or other software, Adobe Illustrator, something like that. I'm sure they can change it, but make sure you change that to this cursor shape, and students really appreciate that because they know where you're pointing, where you're about to write things, and things like that. So I absolutely recommend to not use a crosshair. If possible, change that to this cursor shape. With Microsoft OneNote, it seems like my computer is relatively new, so it was like that. So that's what I'm recommending. If not, you can still upgrade your OneNote software to a higher version, and you may have this cursor available, especially in the classroom instruction. It's very, very, very useful, and students appreciate that a lot. Well, that said, it was just a rough picture when you're actually doing it, and there's always going to be, tons of technical problem you encounter. Let me know if you have any questions, but that was my brief introduction of using pen tablet in the classroom instruction. And you can also share that um, in the internet synchronously or asynchronously. Thank you.